In the world of sports, there are millions of stories about the players who engage in them. We're not going to lie. It's difficult to pick the very best of the world's top sports, but it's easier to name a few people who have changed the course of their respective sports forever. In today's video, we'll look at some sports people who deserve to have their biopics. Starting with number 10, Michael Jordan. Only a few athletes have succeeded at getting to the level at which MJ left the court. Jordan had one of the most interesting lives, and it would be a treat to watch it all be turned into a film or series. Anything, as long as it does justice to the legend. Jordan wasn't always the most loved player in basketball, yet he still elevated the sport to unprecedented heights. He had a reputation for being a very competitive player. This was backed by his work ethic and a handful of championship rings, a total of 6, and the only stat that lies between him and LeBron James. There has been a film on Michael Jordan, The Last Dance, but it was more of a documentary and less of an attempt at a biopic. So there's still a window open for anyone looking to dive into that area, followed by Slava Fedosov at number 9. A film made on Slava Fedosov would be completely different from any other well-known athlete. This is for one main reason. Usually biopic films are supposed to focus on the player and the sport they play, but in the case of Fedosov, it'll take another turn because he was literally the first ever Soviet hockey player who tried to defect to the US to play for the NHL. For this reason, the movie would be part sports and politics. It would be an entertaining film nonetheless. Although this story has already been covered in a documentary called The Russian Five, there's no doubt the film would do better given that it's executed well. Next up, we've got Gordie Howe in the 8th spot. Gordie Howe came from a place of extreme poverty. He rose to the top solely based on his skill, but that isn't new in sports. What sets him apart is that he could dominate the sport for such a long time. Not only did he do that, but he did it while having the respect of both his peers and fans. Underdogs like him are an asset to any sport that they play, but this is especially interesting when you look at it through a camera lens. Gordie Howe's hockey story would make for a great film. Coming up at the 7th spot, we have Serena Williams. Serena Williams is one of the greatest athletes of all time, period. There's no gender specification there, but you can't deny the impact she has had on female athletes and black people. She went pro at the age of 14 and has never looked back since then. Her story as a tennis player is amazing, but what sets her apart is that she faced a lot of stuff outside of the court and yet didn't let anything come between her racket and the ball. A strong woman like her deserves all the praise in the world, and a film that can capture her life's work for generations to see. Moving on, let's learn a bit about Roger Federer, number 6. Roger Federer's career is undoubtedly remarkable, but the career may not be too interesting for some when seen as a whole. But don't hold this against us because this is merely an opinion. Maybe the film could focus on specific times in his life rather than his career. We'll let the writers figure it out. We think attempting a biopic would need a lot of glamour and pizzazz. The journey that Federer went through personally, from being an arrogant, egotistical person to becoming this calm and humble human, is worth making a film of. 10 out of 10 would watch, followed by none other than Mike Tyson for number 5. Some of our favorite athletes aren't always the face of everything great. It's not compulsory to glorify the person if you're tasked with making a biopic for them. And Mike Tyson may be one such individual. There's no denying that he is one of the greatest boxers of all time. The fear he put in his opponents' hearts is not a secret, but the guy had a fair share of personal and public problems. Unfortunately, Tyson had one of the greatest career rises and a pretty bad fall, but you just can't take it away from him that he is one of the most important figures in boxing history. What would make a biopic on him interesting is that his entire career was filled with controversies. Many matches, too, were linked to some noteworthy issues outside the ring. What's more, we've got Andre the Giant. At number 4, Andre the Giant is a famous name in the world of wrestling. The world of wrestling is not only a skill, it also demands a show, an entertaining one at that. Measuring 2.24 meters in height, Andre was almost too big for the world around him. Nevertheless, he was a renowned name in the world of wrestling of his time, and then he also chose to shift careers to become an actor. Being cast in films like The Princess Bride also earned him a name in Hollywood, but outside of all this, he dealt with problems of his own. It seemed to him that he was out of place in the world. As unfortunate as it may be, a biopic on him would allow people to connect with the real him and not just the image they've had of him for years. We're fast approaching the last 3 now. Coming up, it's our very own Tom Brady for number 3. Love him or hate him, there's no denying a Tom Brady biopic will happen sooner or later. After playing for almost 20 years, Tom Brady finally announced his retirement, except that he didn't. Well, he did, but then he decided, what the maybe I've got a few more years in me. We can't deny that biopics are loaded with money, especially because they bring in a specific kind of audience at the front. Plus, if the biopic is made for somebody of Brady's stature, you need to make sure the film is amazing, or it's you versus the fans. Brady spent most of his career playing for the New England Patriots, only to switch to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers a few years ago. He's 45 and he's still a quarterback. That in itself deserves praise. Not to forget, LeBron James at number 2. LeBron was one of the most scrutinized players even before he made it to the NBA, being compared to all-time all-time greats like Michael Jordan, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, Magic Johnson, and Oscar Robertson while being in high school, living up to the hype and dominating the league with his elite passing, being able to run both ends of the floor, and having that killer instinct to win have put him on a Mount Rushmore of his own. King James sits on his throne on pace to surpass Kareem for the most points in NBA history this season and has embarked himself in the top 10 of all time in rebounds, assists, steals, and three-pointers. LeBron has 4 MVP awards, 4 NBA titles, and 4 Finals MVPs. The King stands out for having the stamina to play for 20 years and yet put on a display comparable to that of an 18-year-old Bron. His success rate seems to be increasing with each game he plays, and it doesn't appear that his freight train will ever stop. And let's not forget that the Akron Hammer has actively participated in helping the Black community. With projects like I Promise, he aims to give back to the community and aid young children to dream big and accomplish them. Finally, at number 1, we'll take a look at Tiger Woods. Woods has an exceptional career in golfing. This includes 5 Masters tournaments, 4 PGA championships, 3 US Open championships, and 3 British Open championships. When he grabbed a win with his second Masters victory in 2001, he became the first ever golfer to hold all 4 top golfing championships simultaneously. We wouldn't be lying if we said Woods became the face of golf, especially for the younger generations who actually looked at the sport as a pastime for the elderly. And here's the fun part. There has already been a biopic on the legendary golfer, but he didn't approve of it though. Instead, his management labeled it an attempt by an outsider to paint a half-baked image of the legend. Woods, however, has shown interest in a film about him, even saying he would like to play himself. This is an amazing opportunity for someone to contact him and do it right now. After all, a legend of his stature surely deserves one, and so do his fans. That's a wrap for this video. Is your favorite sports person on the list? If not, then who is it that you'd like on this list? And do you think they deserve a biopic? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you at the next one.